Hello and welcome to this fresh episode of Point-Counterpoint. Today we have an issue which can be considered localized and specific to a particular area, but it reflects the larger malaise that happens in our entire development versus environment debate, which is unfortunate, but it completely goes on. This story is also apart from it being a strong environmental story, it's also a very big people story of how a village and a cluster of villages have got together to protect their biodiversity, their lands, their fields, and so on and so forth. We are talking of the contentious Western Bypass project, which was built with the lofted ideals of ensuring that the traffic congestion through Margao town gets reduced and the city of Margao can be bypassed, and the bypass was made, and there's a remaining stretch of the bypass that is remaining between Sarauli and the Benaulim Varka road. There has been a very tough battle being fought, not against development. The people who've been fighting against the project, they're not actually fighting against development or the project, but all of them, all my three guests who are here, are essentially fighting to ensure that this particular bypass is built on stilts so that the priceless environmental resources, water bodies, fields remain protected, and a very rich biodiversity treasure is protected. And it is this fight which has reached the final stage where one hopes there will be some light at the end of the tunnel. But we will discuss all that as we go along. Let me first introduce our guest. Starting from my left is Nilesh Prabhudesai, who is the Deputy Sarpanch and as well as the Chairman of the Biodiversity Management Committee of Benaulim. At the center next to him is Royla Fernandez, ex-Sarpanch of Benaulim, one of the leading lights in this whole struggle, both on the ground and in the courts. And last, we are also very honored to have the newly elected MLA of Benaulim, Benzi Vegas. Welcome all of you. And before we start, and I do that when we don't have the fourth table occupied, because ideally we would love to have the government or representatives of the government, the various departments, the biodiversity committee member secretary, and so on and so forth, to have been present. In fact, during the run-up to this particular program, we got in touch with several people, the member secretary of the GCZMA, the chief engineer of the water resources department, the PWD head, and all of them unfortunately were very reluctant to come for a discussion, passing the buck on to each other. One of them even said, please speak to the minister concerned. So what happens here is that when key departments who are so involved in this whole project refuse to send their representatives, then quote unquote it becomes one-sided. But we will not let this become one-sided or two-sided. We'll keep this real. We only want to place on record that the government had an opportunity to attend this and be a part of this discussion, but nevertheless their voices will get unrepresented, but then they themselves have missed out on this opportunity. I'll start with Benzi, since he's the elected representative and this is his first challenge that he has faced. If you can start off, Benzi, by saying where does the issue lie right now, and at what stage are we in with regard to this 2.7 kilometer western bypass?
The stage where we are, Sujay, is that the government is not ready to listen. In courts, we have not got a fair judgment as such, and the job is almost complete, 90%. We've got a small stretch of close to 600 meters odd, where there is standing crops, and that is remaining, where the mud filling has to be carried on. And the initial stretch which is coming up for this 2.75 kilometers, they have already done a 10 meters filling of road, which is basically like a work road. And work is continuously going on as we are struggling on the ground to find out various loopholes and various measures which were not followed by the government as well as the various authorities. Recently we had a Gram Sabha where everyone was involved, and the Gram Sabha has come up with a small committee of 16 members who is going in various directions. A signature campaign is started by all of them through the panchayat, and we have set up a plan to meet up the WRD officials to understand what manipulation
Right.
they have done with the report, because it was solely based on this WRD report where all the final conclusions that led to. And then finally we head to and knock the CM's door along with the panel of members who were there. So this is exactly where we stand.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Venji. Toila, again, let's look at what's happening right now. We are fresh out of a very important signature campaign that you all conducted. I think this morning itself, right? Yesterday and today.
Yesterday,
Yes. Now this signature campaign, of course, is to get signatures from all over. There were, we saw very beautiful and moving pictures of even children coming up and being a party to that. And this, of course, petition will ultimately go to the Prime Minister's office,
Yes.
as we said. If you can just kind of brief our viewers as to what is the objective of this particular signature campaign, point one. My second question is, right now the matter is lying with the National Green Tribunal, who will examine the report of the expert committee set up to decide on all the contentious issues with regard to the NGT. You are supposed to be giving your say as well there right now. So at this point of time, how confident are you of the battle ahead, and what are the good points and what are the challenging points in front?
First of all, thank you for inviting us here and giving Benaulim a voice to make it known to the entire state and also India what issues are plaguing Benaulim. Yes, we have started the signature campaign. The Gram Sabha decided, we've gone ahead. In fact, as you mentioned, you've seen children from day one when we started this agitation, a peaceful one, was started on 14th of November 2019, which was Children's Day, and it was led by children. It is a mothers and children's, basically all like-minded people got together and started this campaign. And if you mentioned about the NGT petition also, even in that, the main subject, it's an appeal from the children and villages. So this is a battle we are fighting for the future of the children who are yet to be born. The younger generations who are present are fighting for them. After this petition from June 2021, what we have seen, I definitely see that we are going to be positive and we are going to be making it happen. Because if through the NGT 10-member committee, we could see that Mungul to Serauli could come up on stilts, we are very positive and confident that where there are agricultural lands in Benaulim, the committee will have to consider, after verifying ground facts, that Benaulim too needs stilts. The campaign will go on. We started it yesterday, today and tomorrow. Hopefully we should be finishing. But I see a lot of response coming from other neighboring villages. And they have asking us through messages and even on Facebook, where we had just shared those images, that they too want to join this campaign and implore the government as well as the Prime Minister to please come to reality and give us the bypass on stilts.
This entire 2.7, for the benefit of the viewer, this entire 2.7 kilometers comes under Benaulim constituency?
Yes.
It is partly in Benaulim and Fatorda too.
It touches Fatorda.
Yeah, it goes through Mungul section, which is part of the Fatorda constituency, and then comes back to Benaulim constituency.
Okay, just one quick question before I move to Nilesh. You see, right now the NGT is seized of the matter. The expert committee has submitted its report to the NGT.
Yes.
Why do we get this impression that you all are still very skeptical of what the expert committee has put up? Where is the cause for suspicion? When the expert committee came, they toured the area, it was seen as a welcome decision. Of course, the committee itself started functioning a little later than what it should have. We are aware of that.
Yeah.
All that. But what I'm saying is, when this committee has been kind of formed, it consists of people who were supposed to know what they're doing, and they've studied the whole matter, met all of you all, and submitted a report to the NGT. Before the matter is completely kind of finalized or decided, why do we notice the allegation against you all is that why do we notice so much of, say, negativity and suspicion even before the full matter is brought to rest? What is the cause of that worry or skepticism that justice has not been done?
If you see the 10-member committee,
Yeah.
it has the State Environmental Impact Assessment Authority, SEIA.
SEIA, yeah.
You have the Goa State Biodiversity Board. You have the Goa State Wetlands Authority, the PWD National Highways. You have the GCZMA.
Yes.
You have the collector, the DM South. You have the WRD, the Water Resource, the Pollution Control Board, and the National Wetland Authority. They have a nominee there.
Right.
Besides the forest.
Right.
Now, what I don't find here is we don't have the town and country planning here.
Right.
Because when it comes to design and planning, I think town and country planning or urban design is an important department which has to be part of a committee like this.
Right.
Because when we started this movement, all these committees, except probably the Wetlands Authority, it's on record, have been made known about this fact.
Okay.
And I can tell you that the State Environment Impact Authority, which is supposed to grant these permissions, has never replied or corresponded to us even once. It was only the Goa State Biodiversity Board which took cognizance of our complaints way back in 2019 and they conducted an inspection. And it was good that we had the town and country planning at that time. We had the agriculture department also part of the inspection and the survey department. And I can quote some of the findings. It was the town and country planning department which specified which are the settlement areas, which is the river, which is the cultivable land. All these things were specified in their report, also in the agriculture department.
So you are saying that these findings would not have been taken into cognizance?
They have not been taken into cognizance. And the town and country planning is that department, or the urban design is that department, which should be part of this committee along with the agriculture. Because in my NGT petition, it's not about just about flooding. When WRD is speaking about it, it's not just about flooding. I am talking about the loss to agriculture. I am talking about the loss to the biodiversity. I am talking about the climate change impacts. What is the cost of, they have calculated, what is the cost to the carbon emissions? All these factors, if you see in the report prepared by the 10-member committee, are not taken into consideration. We are just talking about the increase in the water level.
Right.
That's all. And the construction. So it's WRD and the PWD. When we plan, I think it has to be comprehensive and getting everybody on board.
The Panchayat said that they've authorized you to file an intervention application in the NGT.
No, it's not the Panchayat who has authorized me. I have moved to the NGT way back in 2021 in June.
Right.
And later when the NGT, the 10-member committee in November submitted their proposals. It was just a submission of the proposals. At that point of time, the AG submitted that there was a similar petition going on in the High Court. And then the NGT asked me to seek leave from the High Court to pursue my matter.
Right.
So it's at that time I also intervened and also put my application to ask for leave.
Okay.
Which later didn't materialize. They
so
said
there's no intervention application present?
Intervention application is also there.
Okay.
So I am already an intervener in the suo motu petition.
Okay. Mr. Babudisa, I'll come to you with a series of questions to ask you one by one. Yeah. Firstly, the softer question of we are talking of loss to biodiversity, we are talking of loss to water bodies, we are talking of loss to fields and farms. As the chairman of the Biodiversity Committee, can you just explain to our viewers as to what exactly will be the loss if this bypass is not made on stilts?
So the loss will be, of course, there will be loss of biodiversity plus paddy field. Actually, it is a paddy field and river which is there. There will be a loss when you are doing the filling of mud. There will be a loss because water makes its own way. So which side it will go, nobody knows. And when it is still whatever the way it was there before, it would have gone in that particular way, whatever with the time of rainy season, then it would have been at equal, even where there is wetland, it would have been gone there. Wherever there is a river, it would have gone there.
Okay.
Because of this filling, it will not go. So in that concern, yes, we will lose lot of biodiversity, like whatever it is there nearby the river and nearby the paddy field.
But you see, Nishbab, you are the chairman of the Biodiversity
Yes,
Committee.
yes.
Can you tell us that in the last 5 years, how many meetings of the Biodiversity Committee have been held?
Okay, I'll tell you, there is a lot of thing in biodiversity. I took over as the Biodiversity Committee in 2018. Okay, and 2018 there was I fought with the Chogle College.
No, you just answer from 18 to 21 or 22.
Yes. I'm telling
in
you.
5 years,
So
how many
first
meetings have been held?
biodiversity, yeah, that's what. I'll tell you, if I want to tell, I will tell you that in 2015, 31st 2015, work sanction of this particular Western bypass was given. In that time, I was not in Biodiversity Committee. The people who were there in Biodiversity also did not go about it. 2015, okay. This is...
Let's say from 18 to 20.
Yeah, 18 to 20, 21.
21,
Yes,
okay.
I'll tell you. What we have done 2-3 meetings. We have asked for the PBR from Chogle College. Chogle College was doing the PBR. They have done partial PBR of the...
PBR, viewers, I just intervened. PBR means the People's Biodiversity Register, which has been put.
So technical support.
But
It was-
my
I'll tell you,
only issue, I
because
still don't have the answer to that question.
We are always, you know, our tendency to forget things is very easily we forget.
Correct.
Whenever even the bigger issue, and we forget the March 2020 and till March, you can say 21, and till even last few months back there was COVID, right? And without considering the technical support, you cannot go with the PBR. There has to be technical support because technically everybody is not. Yeah,
No,
this 2 years.
I'll come back to you. What I'm
Yes,
essentially
that's
saying
what.
is that, say, between 2018 to 2020,
Yeah.
will it be fair for me to say not a single meeting of the Biodiversity Board?
We have taken the biodiversity meeting. That's what.
Okay, we'll ask the others about this. My issue is not that. The reason why I'm asking this repeatedly is because the biodiversity meeting is very important for people to understand the biodiversity concerns.
Yep.
And once the Biodiversity Committee places certain things on record, and if a very, very strong message goes from the ground,
Absolutely.
then what happens is projects like this cannot take place when they know that there is a strong Biodiversity Board support. Point number one.
I agree with you. But
Point
what
number,
I'm
so why
saying-
didn't it happen?
That is what I'm saying. 2018 November we took the agreement with Chogle College, and afterward they were having a
Okay, you'll have to explain again. Viewers will not know.
Exams.
No, why the agreement with Chogle College and how are they involved in the
technical
PBR?
support. As a technical, they have their committees, technical support with the Chogle College in November 2018. Then afterward they were having exams. The college students, they were having exams. Then they had gone on those holidays. It was started their college in 2019 June somewhere. And 2019 November our PBR had started. And it had started from my ward, that is ward number 11. And it started from November. It took just 60% of it took me 4 days. And after that they were having some exams again. So I have to leave it. Because when they say it is exam, I cannot tell them, force them to.
I'll just come back
So
to you.
this is what is happening.
I'll just come back. You
Reality.
see, for viewers, and correct me if I'm wrong, the People's Diversity Register is a very, very important piece of documentation because it places on record all that is there in the village which needs to be protected. It talks about your fields, your protected areas, your green areas, and everything, so that there is a documentation of the eco resources that are available in the village. When we first you and Railo, can you see? My point is what we are discussing now may or may not be intrinsic to what's going on, but at the same time, I feel a lot of documentation that could have added to the weight of the agitation was probably kind of lost or delayed for a variety of reasons. Can you just elaborate on that, and then I'll ask Railo to
As you said, the PBR was a very very essential document which was not actually available and which was not made available.
How did it impact?
It has created a huge impact because if this document was there in place and if everybody who was supposed to make sure that this document is generated in the right manner at the right time, then I think that document itself would have cleared all doubts, and even the court and NGT and everyone would have given a clear standing without any other hassle. There is no more explanation to be required.
So you're essentially
So
saying
there
that
was a
instead of-
failure on making sure that the PBR is been made ready and is been kept in front of the NGT.
So it is like saying that my home has so many resources that need to gets protected, but I cannot tell the people who are listening as to what those resources are. Would it be right to say? And in the absence of that, the richness of the biodiversity and what is that needs to be protected from this western bypass has not come out properly.
Yes.
I mean, because I need to explain it in very simple layman terms to people who are watching.
Yes.
But Raila, what is the current status of this? I mean, has post facto now, since of course things have opened up and people are meeting and meetings are going on. Has there been any exercise right now conducted to get the People's Biodiversity Register done? Can you still kind of do it? Can it be done now?
At this point of time, I think first thing is in Sunday's Gram Sabha, the Gram Sabha decided to dissolve the present Biodiversity Committee because it is that supreme body which was there within the Panchayat which could have protected every aspect we were fighting for in this petition. If I am not mistaken, right from, it was my letter, he's rightly stated, in 2015, the Biodiversity Committee was constituted in Benaulim, and we had one chairperson who resigned, who actually never resigned, and I was part of the committee, and I brought it to the notice of the Panchayat later that we need to appoint, because the BMC was also initiated through my continuous reminding, because I was part of the Panchayat during that term, and attending programs conducted by the Biodiversity Board. I realized at that time this was a tradition, a huge bank of knowledge of the village. It's not only about the built heritage and the natural heritage, it's also about the traditional knowledge which exists within the village. It could be even those traditional medicine givers. This all had to be documented. Besides the variety of flora and fauna which does exist in our village. So seeing that the then chairperson just abandoned the entire committee, I wrote to the Panchayat, and that's how in 2018 a new committee was constituted. I wasn't a part of that. There was a different body there altogether. But we were continuously reminding them, because that was one body which is the BMC. It's not about just documenting. It also has excess benefit sharing, which is also an important aspect. We have people who are using the biodiversity for business, and that could also generate revenue for the BMC.
Okay.
So we have been working, and I feel right now at the fag end of because the term of the BMC also coincides with the term of the Panchayat body.
Okay.
So we are just few months away from the next election.
Before we take a break, final words before the break to Nilesh. Mr. Papadhi, tell me now, the thing is, of course, the Panchayat has decided to kind of disband or dissolve or whatever. Even at this late stage, what can be done to kind of make up lost ground, and what really can be done even at this stage to see that some course correction is done?
So if you allow me to give 2 minutes.
Sure. That's
okay,
all
because this total debate looks like it is coming on the biodiversity and biodiversity
this
committee.
section of the debate is coming.
Whatever the
full
section,
debate.
yeah. So as a chairperson of the biodiversity, what I know,
Sure.
and
Please speak. Please speak under.
So I'll tell you the full thing. I'll tell in one stretch. 2015, the stretch of it was sanctioned of this thing. 2015, I was not the biodiversity committee member also. I was not biodiversity chairperson also.
Sure.
It was constituted the biodiversity of Benaulim in 2015.
Right.
And that time there was one chairperson. Royla was the member. Okay. And 2015 was the Western Bypass was sanctioned. Western bypass acquisition has taken place in 1995.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
1995 it was taken. But how the Western bypass will be, on what? Acquisition, because even to build on the street required the acquisition.
Right.
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 So that particular thing is started in 2015.
15. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
2015 to 2018. 3 years, there is no biodiversity meetings.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
There are no PBR initiative.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
There is no single letter to the government or something like that from that I am saying. From the
Okay.
biodiversity, what is going to happen for, because even it was,
Fine.
because there, then 1995 it was there. Number 2. I took over and because biodiversity bylaws was says it is whenever the new committee becomes of the village panchayat, the biodiversity committee forms, it is for the 5 years.
Right.
As per the biodiversity.
Correct.
And whenever it comes to the, it will be changed.
So 2018 that happened.
Yeah, 2018, because 17 panchayat election took place.
Right.
And 2018, somewhere in January,
Right.
it was biodiversity chairperson was
the
made
point.
by
In
me, and there was-
2018, correct.
Yeah, 2018. 2018 November, the contract was signed for PBR with Chogale College.
Okay.
Okay, then Chogale College, I was
2018
November.
November.
Yes.
And you took over on?
January, February, it was.
So 9 months later it was.
Yeah, it's, absolutely. There was 9 months later, no doubt about it. When it is a new, when you are in something in a new, you have to
Okay,
put those
fine.
things together. It requires time.
Fair enough.
And there is a rainy season also
Fair
in
enough.
India.
Fair enough. Okay. Then.
So 2018 November, it was signed. Document was signed.
Okay.
Agreement was signed
Right.
with Chogale College.
Correct.
Then there was the exams of after the signing, because we depend on them.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It was exams. So then November, it took 1 year to Chogale College to start the PBR.
I see.
With technical support to get, because I was after them.
Right.
It may not be in a writing, but calling the
Right.
principal and
So
everybody.
you said Chogale College also kind of delayed by a year.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So then November is started. After that, again, students started telling us like they have exams.
Okay.
So it was okay, fine. But in 2020 March, okay, so November 19 to 20 March, the COVID started.
Right.
Okay.
So for 2
2
years-
years it was COVID.
Okay.
2 years there was COVID. Another thing I'll tell you. Now we always say when it is required, because Benaulim is not got on stilt. Now let me give you another thing. Whether Sarauli was prepared, biodiversity is prepared? No.
Right.
Sarauli village has not prepared a biodiversity report.
Yeah, but that
They
cannot
got
be a-
it.
that
They
cannot
got
be a
it.
justification.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm not justifying that. See, can you justify that it is because of biodiversity report it is not done? No. We also today we cannot justify because we are not got on a stilt because of biodiversity.
Okay,
because it is happening now.
But you
It
do
is
acknowledge.
Yes,
Once
because
again,
biodiversity 10 members committee, biodiversity board was there.
Right.
Wetland authority was there.
Right. No, see.
Yes.
One second, I'll just interrupt.
Okay.
I'm essentially
More
I'm-
above
okay.
more than biodiversity
Okay.
committee. Yeah.
I'm essentially saying that 2015 to 18, you said nothing happened. Point taken.
Yes, sir.
Okay. 2018 to 2021, you've spoken of the various pitfalls and challenges
Absolutely.
because of which could not happen.
Yes.
Point taken.
Partially it is there.
Point
But it is
taken.
not
Yeah.
validated
Okay.
yet.
Now the issue is okay. Let's let bygones be bygones. Let us look at the future. When we are looking at the future, at this point of time, right now, since things are back to normal, restrictions have been lifted and so on and so forth. What is being done now to get the ball rolling at least?
See, it is now partially it has to be validated. Whatever it is, then it has to be validated first.
Okay.
Okay, and it has been validated in the biodiversity committee meeting. Okay. So now I'll tell you another thing. For that to require money, okay, the do PBR require money. And now there are two operations of account in Benaulim biodiversity.
Okay.
Which were the previous committee was there. And the secretary opened the account on their personal name,
Okay.
gave the name to the account is biodiversity, it is just written, and sent that particular account to biodiversity board. And biodiversity putting up the money in that account. And the chairperson which was there, he is not living in India now.
Okay.
He is in London.
Okay.
We cannot
So these things
use
have to be-
any
see,
funds.
This has
See,
to be brought to the notice of the.
Okay, see, okay. So, see, these are important. See, the issue is the reason why we are
another thing-
getting to such detail is also to realize that, look, for every movement of this sort, there are these very deep micro level challenges that also happen. Some could be negligence, some could be inefficiency, some could be practical issues. But the problem is that there are these several small things that become very, very big at the end of the day. There are different challenges, different viewpoints. What is the positive side is people are still sitting together and trying to find a way out. But the issue is that there are several issues that could be in control, could not be in control, could have been organized, could not have been organized. I'm sure there are people who should take the blame and take the credit both. But the fact remains that at this point of time, these are small issues, and this is also a lesson to other villages also, that when you want to fight for your villages, just do a proper mapping of your resources as early as possible, because that helps you to meet your challenges better. That's all we are saying. And right now, irrespective of whatever has happened, I think everybody should get together and see that in the next fight, you don't leave any stone unturned, so that later on your legal challenge gets affected. Stretch that needs to be built on stills so that the biodiversity fields and all are protected. It's about 2.75 kilometers, out of which the Chief Minister has already announced that 1.2 kilometers will be built on stills, and you have a remaining about 1.55 kilometers. But let's go by the length of the stretch that needs to be put on stills, because the length of the agitation, the intensity of the people is something that really needs to be taken into account. But let us start with these figures. Now, since the Chief Minister already has said that 1.20 out of the remaining 2.75, doesn't it come across as a good positive move by the Chief Minister? He's looking in that direction. He's already given that assurance of 1.20. So obviously the rest of the 1.55 stretch can be argued, can be discussed and debated, and ultimately, don't you think that can also happen? So there is no real resistance to the movement, since the CM has already talked about this 1.2. What are your views?
Yes, the CM has given a reassurance of whatever the NGT report says, that a certain section should be on stills, and he has reconfirmed in the House, which is a good thing. Now we will be again going to the Chief Minister with this entire matter to make him understand that the entire reports were made in a haphazard manner, and in order to ensure that this kind of development goes ahead in a fast head, speed track process. So this report which came out specifically from the WRD, that WRD findings which came out from the report were all manipulated.
Just to explain, the Water Resources Department gave certain findings, you are saying, which tilted towards they saying that the western bypass on stills is not justified because it will not lead to a marginal difference in terms of protecting the fields.
Yes, basically they have derived the peak flood discharge to two formulas, and then they have derived the carrying capacity of the river at the fish market.
Right.
So these two formulas and whatever they derived out of these two findings were not taken from resources or from concrete information, were generated out of, in order to come up with a figure. So that figure says, yes, stills are not required. And no one challenged this particular matter in a proper manner politically, because there was no political will or no political know-how of the politics or the politicians that were involved at that time, the MLA then. So they did not have the understanding to actually challenge this process, which we will do it now. We will sit down, we will try to make everyone, although it is a bit late, but yes, we are confident, because if the CM has agreed, and which it looks that he is on a positive track, environmental friendly Chief Minister who has already agreed to a section, I think we all as a team now, since we have formed a committee, we will go, we will address him, we will show him that how these people have manipulated these formulas and how it should have actually been, what is the ground reality, and showing him that, I think then there is a hope, with this CM.
Okay, Raila, if you can just come a little, slightly elaborate on A, little bit of what Wenzi said, and B, what is it that needed to be part of the whole deliberation, and what should the committee have presented before the NGT, which they failed to by not including certain section of the government in the picture?
Continuing further to what Venzi has said, it is definitely a positive approach taken by the government, and that I have seen that in the Suomoto petition also, they have from the government side they have already filed affidavits to take up the stills, that 1.2 kilometers on stills, which the High Court has also accepted. But I would like to still state that the proposal given by the committee to the NGT is not yet decided by the NGT. And neither have I got the opportunity to discuss and present my case there. In fact, my interim application is still awaiting.
Right.
Yeah, it's not yet finalized. Right. So that's where I want to present and show what are the other flaws and which are the facts which are not considered by the 10-member committee. In fact, just few points which we see is, in Serauli Mungul, we have been granted stills. Benaulim is on embankments. But the reports which are attached to my petition, done by the government departments, by the TCP, by the WRD and the zonal agricultural officer, very clearly stated, because it was specifically for Benaulim, that it is stated in their reports that if we have the bypass on stills, it would protect the environment and the damage in the long run.
Right.
So here we see that the 10-member committee has only inspected but not also gone through the facts done of the investigations done by the departments. And that's why I state again that planners also have to be part of this committee.
Right, right.
WRD is looking in terms of flooding, of the increase in the water level. PWD, as you see in their report, only banks on construction cost. We have committee members here which are the Pollution Control Board. So the Pollution Control Board has to assess the damage to environment.
Correct, absolutely correct.
Which is not metered, it is not calculated. The Impact Assessment Authority is there. They have not done their duty. So it's only if you see the entire report, the minutes which were submitted to the NGT by its meeting on 5th of October 2021 and November was the hearing. It is specifically only in the maximum likely height of the water retained. So that's one factor. Elevated structure filling of water bodies, that's one. And then burrow pits or earthwork. These are three facts which are all civil works.
Right.
We are talking in the NGT about environmental damage. That is not calculated.
So what you are saying is that the NGT may not have the full picture in mind.
Yes, they do not
when these reports. So would you also, before I go to Nilesh, is that don't you think that when this committee was constituted, people should have been taken more into confidence, the panchayat should have been taken into confidence, they should have been members of the community as part of the committee, or at least as assistants to the committee?
Absolutely. Yes. Because what we fail to do is, even if I am an architect, we will go there and study the place.
Right.
But there are people with traditional knowledge, and that's how the biodiversity committee plays in.
Right.
And it's traditional knowledge which is always overlooked. We always try to neglect the ancestral history which is there of the land.
Correct.
And if I get an opportunity to tell you, people now,
please do.
is this wetland which is there, or the agricultural lands, water bodies where we are fighting for in Benaulim, is the major catchment area of the entire River Sal. River Sal originates in Verna, and right to Betul. But the water flows in this area is not just the rainfall, but it's from the fields from Verna, Betalbati, Kolva, Benaulim. It's integrate. It's all integrated.
Right.
And that's how the water reaches here, besides the rainfall which comes in there.
Right.
And we have a specific lake called Valle Tole. And Valle Tole has got sluice gates. And these sluice gates are very instrumental, wherein the particular place, survey numbers 134, 136, where Tole Band is, they grow 2 crops. And that's how we dam the water and allow it to come into this. And all these agricultural lands are east-west. So the water flows naturally. Tomorrow when the western bypass comes in there, we are not against the western bypass. we are pro-development.
Absolutely correct.
But what we say is when you put just box culverts, you're destroying the hydrology, the normal flow. You're destroying the agricultural lands. How does the farmer access? If you consider this as a table and this is the stretch of the Western bypass, we just have 2 openings in this entire stretch as per the proposal even right now given by the PWD. How do you feed this water on either sides? If you have observed any place where there is a stretch of road and fields and a culvert, the area on either sides gets washed away. So it means you have acquired my land here. It is now the government's property. But because of this act, you're destroying my land too, which is not acquired. And for a fact, if you go to Nuve, where the Western bypass is already constructed, I have affidavits of farmers which I produced in the court to show that the non-acquired land has been rendered uncultivable and the farmers cannot grow crops there. So that's a case study for us to apply here in Benaulim before the damage is done.
This has happened in...
It's already happened.
Okay.
If you go to Goroti village, the farmers there are there to tell you...
That is for which project?
The Western bypass.
Same project. Yes.
The same project. And what something which is interesting is Benaulim floods annually. It's over years, over 80 plus years.
Right.
Herald will be definitely documenting it in June again. But what we have seen is in Naveli, we have got stilts, which we never heard about flooding there.
Right.
How was it that Naveli got stilts? It was during that term when the ex-MLA was there, Mr. Luisin Falero. I found on record there are letters sent by him to the Chief Minister, then Chief Minister Mr. Parrikar, and he was instrumental in getting the stilts there, partially, not the entire stretch.
So you're essentially saying that the stilt experiment has worked in Naveli?
Has worked in Naveli. Right. So why not for Benaulim, where it gets... And flooding doesn't mean that water comes on the road. This is a normal thing. Water is coming on the road, it's flooding. No, that's not. When water seeks its own level, when water reaches in fields, in areas which never get flooded, you know that water has taken its level and those people there are getting affected. So the committee has not gone in depth
into
these issues.
Yes, please.
So, listening to Royla,
correct.
To be conclusion, there has to be a political will. So what she says, like 1.2 kilometer, the Fatorda we got it, whatever it is, got it in Naveli. Surauli got it because of NGT, whatever it is, 0.19, 100 kilometers. But major chunk of it, it is because of the political will.
At which level?
Whatever level, memory level, minister level, whatever level, it is political.
Because WRD
No, I'm not talking about WRD, whatever the technical thing I am not talking about. I am not talking about legal thing also. I am talking about political will. If political will is there, and political fight you can. So if she was, even Luisin Falero was not there in the government that time.
So what you're essentially saying that if there are
political will,
there,
That I agree with. If as lay people we could work and get 1.2 on stills.
Correct. Yes.
I think, and if the government also understands the need to protect environment, the balance should come on stills.
Correct. Tell us, before we need to wrap up in another 5 to 10 minutes. What we're essentially saying is, let us now look at the happy part of this whole discussion. Happy part would be where can we get inspiration from? Let's look at how this has been a wonderful people's movement, led and fronted by children, and then people like all of you at different stages. If you could just talk to this, starting from you, and we'll go this way, on how inspired all of you are from the way the people's movement has taken shape, and how has it taken shape?
As far as I remember, it is, and she will confirm it, it is 14 November 2019 is the people movement started. And I know because I take it, when the movement started, I look at into the political way. Then I came to know that it is 22nd March 2020 was ZP election. Because 2015 was the sanction order. Till it is required to 2020. 2000, it took 5 years to start the people's movement. Why? Because there was a ZP election 2020. Okay, fine. Now, again it is started because there is the election, because afterwards again it was started in somewhere in before the this election, assembly election. So this, I am not saying this is people movement. No doubt there are so many people movement are politically motivated. Okay, so it over here also it looked like it politically motivated. Even they say that it is not politically motivated. But why I say, because this we say now, because putting a mud and all. I remember when I was in 1978, 79, when I was schooling and going to the same road to my school walking, the water was flowing above the road and there was field both the side. Okay, in 1987 and 1997, the property was bought and it was fully filled with mud for the development of the plots. Okay, and that is nothing less than more than 1 lakh square meter.
No, what I'm not.
No, that is what I'm saying.
What I'm not understanding, or not following, rather. What I'm not following is that, you know,
even that time political. Even the movement.
Okay, are you saying that this people's movement that has happened, is it a good thing or not a good thing?
It's a good thing, but it should, that is what I'm saying. There should be a political will to do this particular thing, and whatever the political movement was started, whether it is very difficult to know whether it is politically motivated or really people's motivated.
Okay, even if it is politically motivated, do you think with people getting involved, is it a good thing?
Say absolutely, getting a road on a stilt, and it is like if I am getting a silver and giving silver.
But you are supporting the people's movement.
Absolutely, of course.
Okay.
Who says opposite?
Okay. Rahul, you.
Yes, it is a people's movement and started on Children's Day. In fact, let me just elaborate to what he is saying. No doubt, the construction started in 2015. In 2016, the Gram Sabha of Benaulim is on record. The resolutions are submitted to all the government authorities that if we want an elevated road, a bypass on stilts, way back in 2016. I could even tell you the date of the, it was 21st of February 2016.
Okay.
So people are part of this. And the then Sarpanch, Mr. Remedios Fernandez or Remy Fernandez, he has moved this resolution and we have submitted.
You're right.
After that, we had Diala Fernandez, who was a Sarpanch in 2017, the next term.
Right.
She has been working to find out what are the details required to go ahead with a petition. After that comes Eslina Fernandez, another Sarpanch in Benaulim. She's also working on it. It's not that none of them have worked. But in 2019, October, November, there was a notice, or Navin Times is what I had seen, police, the BDO or the PWD writes to the Panchayat that with police protection, the work would be started. I informed the Panchayat, like telephonically, like we need to work on this. What is the status? Because I myself, along with 4 punches, that is Xavier Pereira, Felicia and Eslina, we were working on doing the case with Advocate Kalas. And one day on my way back from the site, because that's my regular route to come to school to drop my children, I saw this place and I felt that we need to do something. I'm not in the Panchayat, but I felt we need to contribute. Definitely, even as an architect, I need to contribute, and I have a very specific reason why I am part of this movement. I am qualified at the taxpayer's cost. So it is my duty and my moral responsibility to help whoever is there, be it the Panchayat or the villagers, to see that this bypass is on stilts. So I saw this place and I shared a picture on my Facebook saying that this is the last opportunity to see this beautiful place. If you want to cherish this memory, let's meet up in the evening and spend time with our children, maybe for the last time. That's how friends who saw this post joined in, and with few people, Rudolph Barreto, Zuze, Rocky Pereira, who are still there part of this movement, even today, doing on ground the surveys. They are the pillars who have been fighting for this movement. All of us got together with children and we explained to them what is biodiversity, why we need to save this. And that's how a children's led movement, children spoke. Even you will have on Herald or any other media, it was covered. And it was one of the most unique protests and appeals made by the children. The mothers were there with them, the fathers. It was looking at their appeal. All of us got together and we started working on this. And that's how till date we are working. We might have been silent when the NGT petition, because we don't believe in getting the children on ground. We even commemorated the Wetlands Day.
Right.
We created models so that children could understand.
Okay.
Our intention is to create awareness so that people understand why we are fighting for it and the need to protect those lands.
We have about 3.5 minutes, Wenzi. First you, then I'll get back to Nilesh. See, as an MLA, of course, you've just taken over. Could you just elaborate on the feedback that you're getting from the people, and how important is this issue in the life of your constituency?
Very important is day-to-day activity, what is happening over there. Whether it is farming, during the monsoons, children going to school.
Right.
So all these are memories which people treasure. But what's going to be the future? Are we going to see these memories? Do we want to see it? If yes, I think then we need to put our foot down.
Yes.
I, being the elected representative, I didn't find it difficult with a small conversation with the contractor and the required departments to make sure that presently there was crops, paddy that has been grown.
Right.
They had started. In fact, I think a couple of
some few stretches.
Some construction work had started.
already
Like
they
pre-construction.
filling up.
They had done
But
filling.
immediately, I think, speaking to them and requesting them not to continue and give us time till the harvest is done. And it was accepted.
Okay.
So there was not a big struggle to
That
do
was on acquired land.
That was on
That
the
was on
acquired
acquired
land,
land.
which is
Yeah,
now
right.
the harvesting is going on.
Right.
So if this, just by me verbally speaking, because I have the authority to speak
So
now
you're
as an
saying that,
elected
okay,
member.
just to clarify, if you win this battle, then those lands can also get saved, right?
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes,
Right.
yes.
Which land?
So what
The land that has already been acquired, if you make it in stills and not there, that land is already gone, isn't it?
No,
gone in
what
the
will
sense-
happen is it's still the government property.
Yeah, yeah.
But when it comes to flooding,
Yeah.
we would maintain the balance.
So
Right,
only
right.
about the floods.
Right, okay. So if it's built on stills, then the flooding will not happen.
In fact, if we require them, because when I talk about climate change and the carbon emissions, no doubt because of the highway
No,
there will
but
be
will they
carbon
be able to
emission.
cultivate there? If you do it on stills, they'll still not be able to
If the
cultivate.
government is generous enough, definitely they will be able to cultivate it.
Yeah, yeah. But otherwise, but the practical scenario would be that cultivation will not happen, but then flooding will also not happen to that extent.
Cultivation
No,
can
flooding-
happen, I mean, it's not going to clear out everything. Small
Yeah.
spaces.
Because
But
if it's
then
going to be
there's,
on stills, there is enough spacing. And more important is for the harvesters and the machinery, they don't have to it's going to be a
So what
highway.
you're essentially saying is that if this is converted and the bypass is built on stills,
stills?
though the land still remains with the government,
Yeah.
there can be an understanding where A, cultivation can happen, and B, flooding will be reduced to a large extent.
To a large extent,
To a large-
definitely.
to a large extent. A quick word from you before we sum up the whole thing.
No, to sum up, it is nothing. This is one thing is political will. The thing is why I'm saying it is political will, because I remember last two MLAs and all we had gone, it was only 2 culverts were there of 3 meters. So now they have almost already done that. There are 2 6-meter culverts plus another 2 of 3-meter culverts will be there.
Okay. Okay.
So that is why it is political will. We should, no doubt, we should go around and we
Fine.
should meet CM wherever.
Okay, fine. I'm afraid we are running out of time, but we've had a very riveting discussion, albeit without certain players who should have been stakeholders, the different departments, the Water Resources Department, the PWD, and so on and so forth. A few very important takeaways: that this is very important people's movement with children involved who are fighting for their futures to see that the fields and biodiversity is protected. Secondly, the NGT, which is of course there and it is judging the case, has a report of the expert committee, quote unquote, lying with them. But at the same time, we are aware, and it's being brought up in this discussion, that perhaps the expert committee has not been seized of the full gamut of nuances and points that they needed to before going to the NGT. Most importantly, the rich biodiversity that is there, the inputs of the Town and Country Planning Department, the proper inputs of the Water Resource Department. What MLA Benzi Vegas very importantly pointed out, that he has reason to believe that the Water Resources Department figures and formula which they came to the supposed conclusion that the bypass on stilts will not make much of a difference. That also needs to be looked at deeply. The consensus also very important amongst all of them is that the will to fight, the will to go to the political dispensation and the hope that the dispensation will respond is a positive sign, because hope is not lost. And last but not the least, the manner in which this agitation has happened, albeit struggles and pitfalls and bottlenecks and so on and so forth, but broadly speaking, the manner in which this agitation has been held is an excellent template for a grassroots people's movement, taking into account the practical realities. And it's not a movement against development, it's a pro-development movement, taking into account that biodiversity, development and environment can be friends and not enemies. On this note, we end here, and we hope we'll come back with better news as far as the Western Bypass on Stilts is concerned the next time we meet. Thank you very much.